So we came to the closing speech of this timely and wonderful conference, and this conference is wonderful because of the wonderful keynote speeches and the wonderful panel discussions and wonderful audience. And thank you very much for staying until the end. The title of my closing speech is A New Purpose of Finance and Policy Lessons for Emerging Markets. And in this final session, my aim is to draw together some of the main themes mentioned during the keynotes and speeches. So I want to pick three words from the heading of my speech: finance, purpose, and emerging. I want to pose a question. What should be the purpose of finance in an emerging nation? Yesterday, or the day before, because I prepared this yesterday, but now it's 2 days, the Nobel Prize for Economy is awarded to three distinguished economists for their contribution to transforming the development economics and their work on reducing poverty. Welfare creation is one of the most important policy problems still unresolved, especially for emerging and low-income economies. So looking back to history, we can see that many nations have been able to catch up to developed nations. However, there are many more nations that remain trapped at lower prosperity levels. Those who escaped from lower prosperity achieved this by sustaining high growth rates for many decades. So the first question is, how nations reach prosperity? According to Professor Robinson, it is the institutional structure, whether it's inclusive or not. And according to a narrow corridor presentation, so it's the strong state and a strong society and the balance between the two. The success of the nations depend on this collaborative capability to create efficient systems, public sector and the private sector together, to produce new and efficient value propositions for domestic and global markets. And this cannot be achieved without the guiding feedback from the markets. The structural relationship between finance industry and the real economy is very fundamental for sustainable growth. Financial professionals make decisions to allocate capital in the economy, searching for the highest return. And this endless quest makes the financial sector the beating heart of a free market economy. It is the lighthouse for development of enterprise. It stands at the core of the creative destruction mechanism that fosters transformation by funding the efficient and productive and eliminating the unproductive. So this is the way finance generates wealth and prosperity. And if it does not work properly, it plants the seeds of repeating economic crises over and over again. Every economic crisis is a signal for us to understand that we need to change and adapt our system to the new realities. Enterprises need different forms of capital at each stage of their growth cycles, from idea to IPO. At early stages, companies need long-term seed capital. In later stages, growth capital with little or no collateral requirements. In later, for internationalization stages, they need global capital because local capital is limited. So who will be providing the long-term capital in the economy? Developing long-term capital pools is one of the most essential institutional reforms that should be undertaken. Long-term capital pools, such as pension funds and endowments, are the most critical components in an economy to provide long-term capital for growing enterprises. So in countries with small pools of long-term capital, with tight IPO listing conditions for growing enterprises, and underdeveloped venture capital and private equity industry, the growing firms will starve for finance, and the general growth pace will naturally stall. So public markets are becoming pools of liquidity and exit door for the owners of companies that are approaching the end of their life cycles. So markets are failing to play the role of source of risk capital for the economy. This means the society in general is having less stake in the game, and this is leading to reduced trust in the system. And the value-adding potential of the finance industry is being more and more questioned. We need to resign the financial architecture with a new purpose. So this is clear, but this will not be enough. To create a sustainable economy, we need to have a circular economy mindset as well, and it covers our consumption patterns, it covers our industrial structure as well. Through only establishing right circular economic architectures, countries may start walking on sustainable development paths. We should be very bold and we should be very clear about these goals. We should have SMART goals, means specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound for specific industries, such as creating a zero carbon economy in 5 years, or 100% renewable energy transformation in 10 years, or 100% electrification of the transportation infrastructure in 10 years. We should be very clear. In the end, from Ufuk Bey's speech, to succeed, we need to have every piece in its right place. And all comes down to designing an ecosystem where finance, university, and firms come together in the right structure as an ecosystem. Sustainable development is a system-building practice. It's a design problem. You cannot think about Silicon Valley without thinking about the Sand Hill Road and the venture capital firms staying there, funding, providing capital for growth. So there's a saying, as a last word, I think this is from Bismarck, only fools learn from his own mistakes. The wise man learns from the mistake of others. I think emerging markets need to be wiser to be able to learn from the success stories of others as well. Thank you very much for being with us today. Thank you very much to our supporters. Thank you very much to CFA Institute, to Turkish Republic Presidency, Finance Office. Thank you very much, Borsa Istanbul, and our all sponsors. Thank you very much for being with us for all day long. It's been an honor of us. It's been a pleasure of us. I hope you enjoyed today. Thank you.